The fire had burned through the night. But when morning came, it was silence again, a silence more terrifying than any weapon. Because now, the mighty Valari Empire was broken. And for the first time in 1,000 years, it was on its knees. Scene: the capital. Aftermath of the attack. Smoke still rose from the glowing symbols burned into the land. People walked through the streets in silence. Some cried, some prayed. They had not lost their homes. They had lost something deeper, their belief that they were untouchable. Scene: inside the imperial palace, total collapse. Emperor Thalos sat alone in his chamber. He had once stood above all, proud, strong, feared. Now he watched as his ministers shouted, argued, begged for answers. No systems, no defenses. Our fleets won't respond. They shut down half our galaxy without firing a full-scale war. This isn't war. This is punishment. One young voice rose above the chaos. Prince Kale, we must face the truth, he said quietly. What truth? The Emperor snapped. We are not victims, Kale replied. We are the reason they returned. Scene: a council meeting. Fear and denial. An old warlord spoke. We should surrender. Another shouted, surrender. To ghosts. We are still strong. But the truth was clear. The outer colonies had stopped answering. The military networks were gone. Whole planets had already fallen, not to invasion, but to isolation. The humans didn't need to fight. They had turned the Empire into a prison, locked every door, shut off every light, and left them inside with their guilt. Scene: human command ship. Ghost 1. Commander Lyra received transmissions. One by one, Valari governors tried to make contact. Some begged, some cursed, some offered peace. But Lyra gave no reply. She stood in front of a screen showing an old photo, Earth before the fall. She whispered, "They didn't answer when we begged." Then she looked to her team. Now they will feel what it means to be unheard. Scene: a distant colony. Valari citizens rebel. On the planet Sarnis, citizens gathered. They tore down the statues of generals. They raised white flags, not to the humans, but to the sky itself. They didn't want to be part of the Empire anymore. They wanted peace. They wanted forgiveness. They didn't know if the humans would give it, but they had nothing left to lose. Scene: a broadcast. One last plea. Prince Kale sent a message on every surviving frequency, not as a prince, but as a voice that could no longer stay silent. To those who hear this, we were wrong. We were told humans were savages, that they deserved extinction. But we destroyed them because we feared them. And now, they have returned not as monsters, but as memory. If they can hear us, please, let us speak. Let us change. The message was short, but it echoed across the stars. Narrator's voice returns. The humans had not come to take planets. They had come to take truth. And when the truth came, it brought the Empire to its knees. But mercy. Mercy was a choice still waiting in the dark. For over 1,000 years, the Valari Dominion ruled with fear. They destroyed worlds, silenced voices, and erased history. But tonight, history remembered them. And fire came with the memory. Scene: Valari capital. Nightfall. The city was quiet. Too quiet. Skies were clear. The streets almost empty. People sat in their homes, watching the news. Some said the enemy was near. Some said it was just fear playing tricks. But above them, the stars began to disappear one by one. Not because of clouds, but because of ships. Scene: Valari Defense Tower. Panic begins. Unknown vessels above the capital. Shields aren't responding. Systems, they're going dark. General Velos slammed his fist on the table. Fire the orbital cannons. Shoot anything in the sky. But it was too late. The guns didn't respond. The cannons never powered on. The enemy had already taken the controls, without setting foot on the ground. Scene: Human Command Ship, Ghost 1. Commander Lyra gave no orders to destroy. Not yet. She simply nodded. And across the fleet, silent warships began their operation. No words, no warnings, just action. Scene: Back on the ground. Panic. Sirens began to wail in the capital, but no one knew why. There were no explosions yet, no soldiers in the streets. Just fear, the kind that grows when you don't understand what's coming. Lights across the city flickered. Elevators stopped. Doors locked themselves. Water systems failed. Hospitals shut down. People began to scream, not from pain, but from terror. Terror of the unknown. Scene: Prince Kale's room. Darkness. The prince sat by his window, watching the sky. He saw the strange black ships hovering above, still and cold. He whispered, "Why don't they attack?" A voice behind him replied, "Because they want us to feel what they felt." It was his old tutor, once a war historian. They want us helpless, powerless, afraid. Scene: Human strike teams. Fast, clean, surgical. On the edges of the city, dark human shuttles landed quietly. Special units moved fast. They didn't kill everyone. Only the leaders. Only the ones who had signed the orders for Earth's destruction long ago. Each mission took less than 3 minutes. One shot. One message. We remember. Then they vanished back into the night. Scene: Human ships light up the sky. And then the fire began. From above, human ships released bright streaks of light, not to kill, but to burn symbols across the land. Giant glowing marks that could be seen from the stars. Old Earth languages. Names of cities lost. Names of people erased. And a single phrase: never again. Scene: Inside the Emperor's chamber. The Emperor stood, speechless, watching the symbols glow across his capital. He had faced many enemies, but never one that didn't demand, didn't beg, didn't talk. Only one that remembered. Scene: Civilians watching in silence. The fires didn't hit them. They weren't bombs. They were messages. Messages written in flame. People began to cry. Not from wounds, but from shame. Narrator's voice returns. That night, no human voice was heard. No great battle took place. But the Empire lost something more than ships or soldiers. It lost its pride, its control, its mask. And the night was no longer quiet. It was filled with fire. Silence spread like a shadow, from colony to colony, system to system. People stopped asking questions. They started hiding, hoping. But hope is a weak shield when the storm is coming. And for the Valari Dominion, the storm was now knocking at the gates. Scene: A refugee ship flying through space. Hundreds of Valari civilians sat packed together. Mothers held children. Old men stared out at the stars. No one spoke. Whispers passed from one corner to another. They came without warning. They didn't leave a single ship behind. They don't talk. They just watch. A child asked her father, "Are they monsters?" The father looked away. He had no answer. Scene: Valari military base. Planet Karnos. General Vec stood before his soldiers. "These humans, they are not gods. They are not ghosts," he shouted. "They are flesh and blood, and they will bleed like the rest." But his voice trembled near the end, and his soldiers knew it. Deep down, they had seen the truth. They had seen the reports. Ships falling without a shot. Bases shut down from space. The enemy didn't come with fire. They came with silence. And silence was worse. Scene: A hidden chamber. Secret Empire archive. The young Prince Kale returned to the forbidden archives. He had to understand. He had to know the truth. He watched more human files. Old war footage. Before Earth fell. Children crying. Cities burning. And then, a final speech, recorded just before the humans disappeared. It was a woman's voice. Calm. Steady. We are not your slaves. We are not your enemies. But we will not bow. If you break us, we will rise again. And when we do, your empire will know fear. Kale closed his eyes. For the first time in his life, he felt guilt. Seen, human fleet, hidden behind a moon. Commander Lyra stared at the Empire's inner defense map. They think we're coming for the border, she said. They don't realize we're already past it. Her second-in-command smiled. They never do. One by one, the ships prepared. Engines silent. Weapons cold. They waited. No rush. No sound. Just the storm, gathering in the dark. Scene. Valari capital. Emperor's chamber. A message arrived. From a surviving outpost commander. They never entered. They shut everything down from space. Power. Air. Water. Then, silence. We begged for answers. They gave us none. The Emperor crushed the message tablet. Fools, he growled. Why do they not fight like soldiers? An old general answered quietly. Because they are not soldiers anymore. We made them into something else. Scene. A child looks up at the sky from the capital city. She points at something. Stars are moving, she says. Her mother follows her gaze. She sees it too. A small shape, blocking a star. Then another. And another. Not falling. Just watching. Waiting. Scene. Inside a Valari war room. Panic breaks out. Unknown objects appearing above 10 major cities. Shields are up, but they're not doing anything. No communication. No demands. Just silence. Then suddenly, all lights cut out. Power gone. Screens dead. The command room turns black. A voice plays through an emergency backup speaker. Not loud. Not angry. Just calm. We remember. Narrator's voice returns. The Empire prepared for war. But the humans brought something else. Something colder than bombs. Quieter than fire. They brought silence. And the silence was full of pain. The Empire was confused. Angry. Afraid. First, it was silence. Now, shadows. Something was moving in the stars. Something cold. Something human. The Valari Dominion had faced many enemies in the past, but never like this. Never without warning. Never without sound. Scene. A Valari scout ship, Silver Eye. Captain Wren stood at the front window of his small ship. Status, he asked. Approaching Sector 9T. The pilot replied. Last contact was here, 5 days ago. Wren looked at the stars. They were still. Quiet. Too quiet. The scout ship flew slowly toward the silent planet below. It looked untouched. No signs of battle. No smoke. No fire. But there was something wrong. There were no lights. No movement. No life. Scene. Inside the abandoned colony. Wren and his team walked through empty streets. Buildings stood tall, untouched. Food still on tables. Machines still humming. But not a single person. It was like they had just vanished. One soldier whispered, "Where did they go?" No one answered. Then they heard a sound. A quiet hum. A signal. It came from the sky. Scene. Back on the ship's radar room. The screen lit up. 1 dot. Then 2. Then 20. Then hundreds. Shapes surrounding them in the darkness. No lights. No signals. Just presence. The radar officer's hands shook. Commander, those are ships. Valari, asked Wren. No, sir. Unknown class. Scene. A message blinks on the main screen. 1 line. In old human code. You took everything. Now we take it back. Suddenly, the screen went black. The lights on the scout ship flickered. Engines stopped. Communications failed. The human ships didn't fire. They didn't need to. One by one, the systems of Silver Eye shut down. Then, from deep space, one human ship launched a single beam. It sliced through the scout ship like paper. And then, silence. Scene. A lone escape pod floats in space. Inside was one survivor, a young officer, barely breathing. He recorded a message. If anyone finds this, the humans have returned. They're not the same. They're stronger, smarter, silent. We never saw them coming. The pod drifted through space, but no one found it. Not in time. Scene. Valari High Command meeting. Panic filled the air. They've taken 6 colonies in 1 week. They don't answer calls. They leave no survivors. They don't even land. They just shut us down from the sky. One general slammed his fist on the table. We underestimated them. Again. The Emperor stood up. His voice was cold. I don't care what they are. Find them. Kill them. End this. But someone in the room stayed silent. It was the young prince. He looked down at the table, then spoke. What if they're not trying to destroy us? Everyone looked at him. What if they're trying to make us feel what they felt? Scene. A dark room. Human command ship Ghost 1. Commander Lyra stood before her officers. They will try to fight, she said, but they won't understand the war we're fighting. This is not revenge, she continued. It's memory. For every child they left crying in the ashes of Earth. For every city they burned while we begged for mercy. For every name they forgot. We remember. Her voice became a whisper. We don't scream. We don't beg. We don't forgive. We erase. Scene. A camera feed. A Valari city watches the stars. People look up. Nothing seems wrong. But in the distance, the stars begin to move. One by one, the human warships emerge from behind the dark sides of moons and asteroids. No sound. No warning. Just silent steel. Then, all at once, the sky goes dark. Narrator's voice returns. The Empire thought power came from fear. But now they learned. Real power comes in silence. And the humans had mastered it. For over 1,000 years, the Valari Dominion ruled the galaxy. They were powerful, cold, and feared by every living being. Planets bowed before them. Races that resisted were crushed. The Valari believed they were untouchable, like gods. Their empire had no equal. Their technology was advanced. Their armies were massive. And their enemies, long gone, or so they thought. But deep in the dark corners of space, someone had been watching. Scene changes. A grand alien city, flying ships, towers of metal, alien creatures moving in order. The Valari High Council sat in their palace of crystal and steel. They talked about taxes, trade, power, peace. Not once did they mention fear, because fear was for the weak. And they were not weak. But something strange had happened. A small outpost, on the edge of the empire, had gone silent. No message, no warning, no distress call. Just silence. Scene. Inside a military command room. Commander Talvik looked at the screen. A blinking red dot marked the missing outpost. Send a scout ship, he said. Probably a broken relay again. The others agreed. It was nothing serious. These things happened sometimes. But 2 days later, another outpost went silent. Then another. And then a colony. A whole planet. Gone quiet. Scene. Back to the High Council. The systems are failing, one counselor said. No, replied another. It's sabotage. Pirates maybe. An old general stood up. It's not pirates, he said with a dark voice. I've seen this before. Long ago. Everyone turned to him. There was a race, he continued. They called themselves humans. They lived far away, refused to kneel to the Empire. What happened to them? Asked a young officer. We destroyed their world, the general said. Or, we thought we did. Scene fades to black. Whispering voice. They warned us. The humans would return. Scene, a hidden chamber, deep inside the Empire. Officer Gerald, a curious and young Valari, sneaked into the restricted records room. He had heard stories, old legends about humans. Most called them myths. But he wanted to see for himself. He pulled up the last known video from the human homeworld. It was grainy, broken, but clear enough. Explosions, smoke, screams. Then, silence. And just before the video ended, a voice said, "We will remember. We will rebuild. We will return." Gerald stepped back, heart pounding. The humans were not dead. They were waiting. Scene, in a cold, distant part of space, something moved in the dark. A ship, no, a fleet, glided through the blackness. No lights, no signals, silent as the grave. At the front was a ship unlike any the Empire had seen. Black metal, sharp design, painted on its side. Ghost One. Inside, the human commander stood tall, staring at a hologram of the Empire's map. "It's time," she said. One by one, red dots blinked across the map. Targets locked. "We strike tonight." No warnings, no speeches. She looked at her officers. "They took our world in one night. Now we take theirs." Scene, back in the Empire. More systems went dark. Ships stopped returning. Communication lines were cut. Panic began to spread, but the High Council refused to accept the truth. "Humans are weak," one leader shouted. "They could never." Boom. A loud explosion shook the palace walls. A soldier ran in, face pale. "They're here," he whispered. "In our space. In our skies." Final scene. A mother holding her child, looking up at the night sky from a city street. In the stars above, strange shapes began to appear, long and silent. Then the lights went out. Darkness covered the city. The mother whispered to her child, "Don't be afraid. It will be over soon." Narrator's voice returns. And just like that, the 1,000-year empire began to crumble. Not with a great war, but with silence. Because when the humans returned, they didn't come to talk. They came to end it all.